Welcome to Bahram English 99 channel. You know, have you ever just stopped and looked at the letter I and thought, what is going on here? It's everywhere in English, but man, it is a master of disguise. In this explainer, we're going to go on a little investigation. We're going to crack the code of this great pretender and finally figure out all its different sounds.
Okay, let's just dive right in. Take a look at these two super simple words. Over here you've got hit. The I makes that short, sharp sound I, hit. But then look at the word time. That same exact letter now makes a totally different sound, a long sound, I, time. See that? Same letter, two completely different sounds. And believe me, this is just the tip of the iceberg.
And this is where it gets really wild. The letter I actually starts borrowing sounds from other vowels. I mean, look at this. In ski and police, it sounds just like a long E. Then, in bird, it suddenly decides to sound like an and in a word like family, it can even turn into what we call the schwa sound. That's just a soft, lazy sound. It's like a linguistic chameleon. So this leads us to the big question, right? How in the world is it possible for one tiny letter to be such a vocal acrobat? Is it all just random chaos, or are there some hidden rules, some kind of code that we can learn to predict how it's going to sound? Well, that is exactly what we are here to figure out.
So here's our game plan. Here's the roadmap for today. We're going to start with the two main sounds of E, its main identities. Then we'll explore its other disguises. After that, we're going to crack the spelling code with some really useful patterns. And finally, I'll reveal the ultimate rule for getting its pronunciation right. So let's get into it.
All right, section 1, the two main identities. Let's uncover the most common, the most frequent sounds that you're gonna hear.
Okay, on the left we've got the short I sound. Think of those simple little words like sit or hit. You also see this sound a lot when the I is followed by two consonants, like in ill or chicken. Then, on the right, we have the long I sound, which is, the name of the letter itself. You hear it in words like ice, fine, and time. So the big clue here is context. The letters that are hanging out around the I give us our first major hints.
And this brings us to one of the most famous rules in English spelling. You've probably heard of it, the magic E. It's so cool. When you see a word with that I, then a consonant, then an E at the end, that silent E does something amazing. It works its magic, reaching back over the consonant to change the sound of the I from short to long. So a word like bit becomes bite. Fin becomes fine. It's a fantastic little trick to keep in your back pocket.
All right, now for the plot twist. The letter I is not happy with just its two main sounds. Oh no. It is a true master of disguise, and it loves to borrow sounds from other vowels. Let's take a look at just how often it does this.
This chart really helps put things in perspective. As you can see, the short E and the long I sounds, they make up a massive 75% of all the pronunciations. That's huge. The borrowed sounds, all those other disguises, that's only about 20%, with a tiny little sliver for other rare cases. So what this tells us is that, yeah, the disguises are important, but if you can just master the two main identities, you're already way ahead of the game.
So let's look at its favorite costumes. The I often pretends to be a long E sound, like in brief, or in words we borrowed from other languages like ski and police. It also really loves that sound, almost every time it's followed by an R, like in bird or first. And finally, it can become that lazy schwa sound, usually in a weak, unstressed syllable, like the middle part of possible or family. You're hearing us from Bahram English channel, and we're breaking it all down.
Okay, so we've identified the sounds. Now let's get practical. Let's crack the spelling code by looking for specific letter patterns that give us clues.
This table right here, this is your cheat sheet. Seriously, certain letter combos are incredibly reliable. When you see IGH, the GH is totally silent and the I is long, I, like in night or right. Same thing for ind, find, kind. The pattern IR will almost always give you that sound, as in girl and bird. And when you see IE at the end of a short word, it's usually the long I sound, like in pie and die.
So let's put this all together into a really simple 3-step process you can use for any new word you find. Step 1. Check for a magic E at the end. If you see it, you're probably looking at a long I sound. Step 2. Scan the word for those reliable spelling patterns we just talked about. And step 3. Listen for the stress in the word. If the I's in a weak, unstressed part, it's very likely going to relax into that lazy, schwa sound.
Okay, we've covered a ton of rules and patterns. But what happens when the rules don't seem to fit? What is the one single ultimate piece of advice that works every single time? This right here is the real secret, and it goes way beyond any spelling trick.
And here it is. This says it all perfectly. To know for sure how a word is pronounced, you need to either hear a native speaker say it or look it up in a dictionary. English spelling is just, well, it's not perfectly consistent. The patterns are fantastic guides, they'll help you a ton, but they aren't unbreakable laws. The most foolproof methods are to listen and to check a good dictionary. So here's the key takeaway from our whole investigation. Think of all these spelling patterns as your guide. They'll point you in the right direction most of the time. But ultimately, your ears. Your ears are your best tool. The real path to mastering pronunciation is to just listen carefully, check when you're not sure, and learn from what you hear.
Let's end this with a fun little challenge to put it all into practice. Try saying this tongue twister. Imagine an imaginary menagerie manager managing an imaginary menagerie. Whoa, that is a workout for your mouth. Give it a try. Thank you for being with us until the end of this video. Please be sure to subscribe to the Baharam English 99 channel and give us energy with your likes and comments. Share your comments with us and send the video to your loved ones so that others can also use it.